Café Anyway. Hello, it's Mike.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to Mike's Daily Podcast. I am hoping
Mike's Daily Podcast
that you are doing well today. I guess you're well enough to listen to this podcast, so that's good. Yay. It's episode 2753. I say to you, I don't know what to do with the beginning of this podcast except this is news. DeSantis is dismantled. No more
Mike's Daily Podcast.
No more DeSantis. He's disconnected from
Mike's
the whole election
Daily
process,
Podcast,
which you probably heard.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is what the news story said from ABC News. He's ending his 2024 Republican presidential campaign after failing to overtake rival Donald Trump in polling or in the early vote. The writing was on the wall back when Fox News did some kind of live from Greasy Spoon in Florida, where I guess that there in Florida is your food groups. All your food groups can be had at a Greasy Spoon in Florida. That's all you need is to eat there, and you'll be healthy. And then no, you won't be healthy. But that's a lot of people like to hang out. That although I never did, when I went to Florida, I would always try and find a place that sold some kind of fish, and then I'd get it fried. Interestingly enough, when you get fish and chips, it really doesn't matter what the fish is. At that point, it's been fried. You could be eating You could be eating an expensive fish or a cheap fish. It doesn't matter. It's fried, and at that point, that's really not good for you anymore. But that is what I discovered in Florida. I did not meet the governor when I was in Florida, but DeSantis, he is just going to stick with being the governor in Florida.
And here's today's podcast picture.
For now. The podcast picture is not of DeSantis, thankfully, but it is of the beautiful town of Pleasanton, and the clouds are acting all kinds of weirdness, and there is that happening in the Podcastro Valleyton area of the East Bay, and you can see that cool picture and all my cool stuff. Ooh, and I got other interesting things at mikesdailypodcast.com, including pictures of the late great Basil the Boxer. What a fantastic dog. And there is a new playlist that you can play. You can click on it and listen to music that I have found from decades ago to recent songs that you're not hearing on the radio, and you need to hear because it's a welcome change from everything you're hearing on the radio. So check that out at mikesdailypodcast.com. Now, DeSantis made the announcement in a video posted to social media Sunday with less than 48 hours until voting in New Hampshire's primary, the second state in the nominating race. And he did okay in Iowa in that he came in second. He beat Nikki Haley. And Nikki Haley is thinking she's going to be able to overtake Trump with this here upcoming New Hampshire primary. We'll see if that happens, but I'm hearing lots and lots of Haley on the air. But we don't have a clear path to victory, DeSantis said in the video, which was filmed in the lovely state of Florida. He then endorsed Trump, a primary opponent whom he has increasingly criticized on the trail. That is interesting because you would not think, with all the times Trump called him desanctimonious, that there would be any good blood between the two. But he has just jumped right into it. He wants the Republicans to win. He says, it's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. Oh, and back at that Greasy Spoon diner.
Fair and unbalanced.
Fox News. This was months ago, probably even a year ago, because we've had to endure a year of DeSantis campaign trail. First, it was all that time. Is he? Won't he? Will he? Won't he? And we waited and waited and knew that he would. And then he did. And then it was just when he did. Just not out of the gate very good. So he then, they're in the diner. DeSantis wasn't at the diner, but it was Fox News and a bunch of Floridians sitting in the diner, and the host asked, hey, who here is a DeSantis fan? And one hand in this entire diner serving delicious, horrible food raised their hand. And that's when I went, oh, okay, that's the deal. They're not that excited about him. So, and he changed, you remember he fired people. People left his campaign a couple months back. He's had all kinds of problems. So now it's done. He says, it's clear to me the majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. While I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci, Trump is superior to the current incumbent Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. Well, there you go. So that's why he had to do it out of the gate. Trump now faces only one remaining notable challenger for the GOP nomination. That would be Nikki Haley, who was his former UN ambassador. Haley has her best chance at beating Trump in New Hampshire on Tuesday. If she beats him...
Might rip someone a new one.
Oh, gosh, I want her to beat him. And I'll tell you why. I am so fascinated by that timeline. We live in this world of, oh, multiverses happen. Yeah. No, they don't. It's all over that's all that sci-fi writers can write about are multiverses and different dimensions and all that. Because they're on a kick. But no, it is, that timeline would be very interesting to me. Chances are she won't, from what I've seen. Chances are it's over for her. It's like Seth Meyers said, all those debates, oh gosh, and all the money spent with all of those campaigns. All those people that were up on the stage debating. When was the first debate? Back during the summer? All those people, they're gone. They're going to be gone very soon. All the money that was back behind them. All the Republicans that don't like Trump putting money into these other candidates, hoping that they're going to beat him. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valentino, the last place on earth. And then all the time spent and all the chit-chat and chatter that you saw on the news about all those candidates that are just it was just wasted time. And remember, Trump never, ever debated them.
Wow, Judge, wow.
I've been alive 55 years, and in all that time, I cannot remember a single presidential candidate that was not the incumbent who was running for office who did not have to debate other people trying to also campaign and get the presidential ticket, get on the ticket, and be the Republican or Democrat pick. But there has never been a time where that I've known of where the one that's one of them just says, nope, I'm not going to debate. And the one that says, nope, I'm not going to debate, ends up being the one that wins. That's fascinating to me. But as one election guy, campaign person, who this is what they do for a living, is help politicians campaign and win elections, he said Trump is running like an incumbent. It's like he never lost the 2020 election. And in his mind, of course, he did not lose the 2020 election. And in a lot of his followers' minds, he didn't win. It was all a sham, some kind of fantastic mass conspiracy.
The Myclopedia Insantica.
It's pretty interesting.
All those voting companies, those voting machine companies hate Trump and they didn't want him to win. So they conspired to make sure that he lost. That's what happened. Even though every election since then has run fine. And I cannot even wrap my mind around why people... And then Fox News gets sued by one of the election companies, the voting machine companies, and Fox loses big time. They owe billions of dollars for the defamation. And people get fired like Tucker Carlson. And it's just, why do you... there's a simple answer. When you look at something, it's not complex. It's just that there was a sore loser involved that couldn't say he lost, could not, like every single president before him who lose.
Well, I like
The whiny white man wine list.
Every single president before him, they would do their concession speech and they'd call and they'd congratulate the winner. Well, Trump never did that, which is a horrible example to the kids today. If you lose a soccer game out on the field, you don't, do that thing where they go by and they shake each other's hands. No, you just, I actually won that. This is all rigged. This is all unfair. And here's the president of the United States, a sore loser. Wow. Well, the timeline that I'm thinking of probably won't happen. But if it does, it'll be very interesting if Nikki Haley wins. I can't. Don't call me a Democrat, don't call me a Republican, but I do not like sore losers.
But if you get offended, that's the way the cookie crumbles. No.
That's what everyone's talking about. Or not. Maybe they're talking about Reese Witherspoon and her fantastic new snow recipe. No, not cocaine.
What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week?
She took snow off of the top of her car, this according to The Hollywood Reporter. She did like a TikTok video, which is always full of great advice, TikTok. Dang, always getting people to do really smart things.
What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week?
As in, TikTok is telling people to do these TikTok crazes, these TikTok challenges, whatever you want to call them, end up being very detrimental to people. But she shared a video of her making what is called a snow salt chocochino. In the footage, she scooped up some snow into a coffee mug. Oh, she took the coffee mugs, scooped up the snow.
Everybody make some noise! Woo! Bringing to you live from Podcaster Valleymont, Mike's Daily Podcast,
which appeared to have accumulated on a car, and then added salted caramel syrup, chocolate syrup, and cold brew on top. She said, okay, so we've had a ton of snow over the past few days. We decided to make a recipe. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But after she posted the video, some fans quickly took to her comment section to express concern about whether snow is safe to eat. One person wrote, no, snow is not made to eat. You can get seriously sick. And someone else said, fallen snow can be very dirty from the air and wind, but who cares? You only live once. I remember eating snow as a kid. Well, Reese Witherspoon declined to live by the motto, or she decided to live by the motto, you only live once. In a follow-up video, she said, okay, so we're kind of in a category of you only live once, and it snows maybe once a year here. I don't know. I also want to say something. It was delicious. It was so good. Well, there. That is... Just take everything you see on TikTok with a grain of salt. Which, in England, they don't say that expression that way. They say, take it with a pinch of salt.
Mike's absolutely useless review.
All right, let's go.
The British created on BritBox and a BritBox original. There's a documentary about Cary Grant. I had no idea. Oh, it's not a documentary. It is a drama. It is a 4-episode miniseries about Cary Grant's life, basically, but particularly his marriage to Diane Cannon and the daughter they had. He didn't want to have kids. He had been married 3 times by the time he got married to Diane Cannon. He didn't want to get married again because he had failed 3 times in love, he said. So with Diane Cannon, she wanted to get married, and he didn't want to lose her, so he married her, and they had a daughter, and then Diane Cannon and him got divorced. But he stayed in touch with the daughter. He helped raise the daughter, and he passed away in 1986. I didn't realize. He had a stroke. And then, interestingly enough, she later on became a producer and worked with ITV to create this miniseries about him. Diane, based on a book that her mom wrote. Diane Cannon wrote a book about being married to Cary Grant. And it's fascinating because it's called Archie, because Cary Grant's real name was Archie Leach. Archie Leach. And some of the dialogue is ridiculous, but and then seeing, I forget the actor's name, Jacob something, and he does an amazing job. He sounds just, Cary Grant accent was so bizarre. He had said that he was from Wisconsin, but it came out that he was really from Bristol, England. But his accent was so unique.
Awesome.
And of course he got so popular from those Alfred Hitchcock movies. And, well, he was just a well-known guy back in the, even from the 30s. He was in a Mae West movie, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. By the 80s, he was in his 80s, and he was doing these lectures where he'd get up and take any question from the audience. But yes, it's funny because there's a lot of British actors in this, and they're all trying to do American accents. Some do better than others. But yeah, if you were interested in Cary Grant, Diane Cannon, a lot of people may not remember who she was. The one thing I remember she did fairly recently, and by fairly I mean 1990s, was she played a judge on the TV show Ally McBeal. And I remember her being in a Inspector Clouseau movie, but she was really big in the 60s, so it's an interesting movie. It's up now. It was just released a few weeks ago, so watched that last night. We blew through all 4 episodes last night. I think we started about 6 o'clock, ended by 10. Pretty interesting. And let's just say he ate a lot of hamburgers.
The Newsbleed section.
But all these British actors that my lovely lady friend and I are used to seeing, because we subscribe to both BritBox and Acorn TV and PBS Masterpiece. So we are very familiar with a lot of those British actors. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, well, I was going to get to all kinds of... Well, I guess we did some political stuff already. Maybe we'll get to this other stuff later. But it is interesting, this was pointed out by the Daily Wire, that the combined net worth of the most prominent billionaires in the United States would not be enough to pay a single year's interest payment on America's ballooning national debt, which currently stands at an astonishing $34 trillion.
News random.
And yes, we have a Democrat president. And yes, it's typically the thing to do to blame a president who is a Democrat that they're going to keep the debt, raising the debt even more. Look at our very own Gavin Newsom governor, Democrat governor. He has increased the debt. But the combined net worth of some of America's most prominent billionaires, and oh, don't forget Trump did add to the debt as well. The combined net worth of some of the America's most prominent billionaires adds up to approximately $726 billion. Meanwhile, the net interest of our national debt is currently at $730 billion.
Matthew's News.
Dwarfing the sum for previous years. So, yeah, if we taxed all the big millionaires, it'd be 726, but we have a debt. The interest debt payment is $730 billion. So we missed it by $4 billion. Oh well. This includes billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Mark Cuban, Ray Dalio, and George Soros. The comparison signifies that increased taxation suggested by Democrats isn't a viable path toward erasing the national debt, especially as interest payments pile up. And the United States collected $4.4 trillion in federal taxes last year. That is up from $419 trillion. So up about $2 trillion. Good for us. From the previous year. Yet the debt increased by more than $2 trillion.
Yo, the mic tip.
So it's, I guess we're in the ballpark. We had increased the taxes by $2 trillion and the debt increased by more than $2 trillion. Wow. And how am I able to understand some of this if I have no mathematical prowess at all? The national debt itself is also set to reach new heights in the next coming years, currently to reach a trajectory of over $46 trillion by 228. What's that? Let's see. To reach over 46. Right now it's at 34 trillion. It's going to go up to 46 trillion by 2028. I see. And that means that every American taxpayer would owe $300,000 in debt. Because each of us is going to be $300,000 in debt if this debt continues. So hey, let's pile on top of that reparations. Let's just add to the debt that some people will owe more than others. That's interesting. It's depressing. Don't think about it. Why did I bring it up? We're outside a Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, the last place on earth. You should just have a beer with a cat to forget about it, which is what I did in the last podcast picture, which you can see at mikesdailypodcast.com. But look who else is out here. Hi, Mike! It's Benita the Rodeo Queen! How y'all doing?
It's a Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Tell you what, Mike.
What?
I'll tell you what.
What?
I don't want to owe all that money, so I'm going to leave.
You're going to leave the United States?
I'm going to leave.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to leave. Going to go somewhere like a nice island. There's Marlon Brando owe an island, and he died, so I'm going to just live on that island with Benita and her horse Nearly.
That's a wonderful idea. Look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. I make the delicious root beer. Have some right now.
Thank you. Oh. That's so good.
Drink it right now. I'll cut you.
I did. I drank it. What'd you put in it?
Snow.
Snow. Oh. But not cocaine, right?
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. All right.
You know, they used to put cocaine in Coke. I just wanted to point that out while we were on the topic. Let us do, let's see, which one? We'll do, we'll start that off with Let's Go Back with Matthews.
Let's go back with Matthews.
Life grand.
You might be asking, Mike, you are bizarre. You tend to talk into a microphone and things happen. Where did that all come from? When did that all start? Well, I'm glad you asked. or I forced you to ask, but let me tell you that I've been in radio for over 35 years. And that means I have seen some things. I've played some music. I've interacted with some people. In fact, if we go back to almost 30 years ago, let's say 1997 was 30 years ago, even though it was more like 26 or something. But let's go back in time to when I was on a country radio station, and in the late 90s, 97, country was pretty big. It had gotten really big in the early 90s because of Garth Brooks. And then by the late 90s, you had the Dixie Chicks and Shania Twain, Faith Hill. So a lot of females were doing the country thing and crossing over onto the pop charts and all. And I was doing a request show, which I ended up doing for 11 years in Ventura County on KHAY. And it was a show called the Santa Fe Cafe. And a lot of the characters that you hear on Mike's Daily Podcast here at Café Anyway were inspired from those characters. But back then, some interesting things happened. We'd get some interesting calls and these kind of interactions, which I don't think you hear today on the radio much anymore. You don't hear many callers. You don't. It depends. You know who has really taken up the mantle with the interacting with caller type thing? Of course, you got the talk radio and people calling in. I can't stand Trump. I can't stand Biden. I think the laptop was a fake. All that stuff. But you also get like the interactions on the dance stations playing hip hop, playing R&B, playing dance music. That's where you'll hear people call in and you hear some interesting things, especially when they do a contest and, hey, you won. Oh my gosh. Blah, blah, blah. And of course, morning shows have some phone call interaction. But here's what was going on about 26 or so years ago in Ventura County and on the radio there on KHAY, in the wonderful country listeners that used to call in.
MTV News. You hear it first.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us here on this show. This is great.
This is interesting.
Wow, this is interesting.
I'd like to request a song.
My head's exploding! What song?
Garth Brooks, Two of a Kind.
Working on a Full House, and who's that going out to?
My niece Danielle.
Oh, is she a big Garth fan?
Yeah, because of me.
Where are you calling from?
Santa Paula.
All right, tell me your exes.
My last ex thought he was Rambo, Commando, and the guy from Mission Impossible rolled into one.
But that turned you on, didn't it?
It got old.
KHAY.
She's my lady luck. The KHAY Santa Fe Cafe, where you are unique just like everyone else.
Yes, I'd like to request a song.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Amarillo by Morning.
I'll be looking at it when they pull that gate. And who's that going out to?
That's going out to my brother Brad and Tom.
All right. So, did I ask you already where you're calling from?
No?
Oh, where are you calling from?
Ventura?
Okay. Tell us about your ex. It's the X-Files. Do you have an X-File?
You don't want to go there.
Really?
Oh, I'm real serious.
Bad story, huh?
Oh, no, not bad. It's very good, actually.
Really?
It's good that
Out of that.
I'm out. I'm free.
Good for you.
We should have played All My Exes Live in Texas, considering that theme. And then there's that really sad, lonely violin at the end of Amarillo by Morning by George Strait. Any George Strait song just teleports me to Texas. I'm in Texas now. Well, I'm going to get dinged by YouTube now if I
need to request a song.
Uh-huh.
This ain't no thinking thing.
Trace Adkins going out to. Who's that going out to?
That's going out to Danielle from Kevin.
And where you calling from?
Simi Valley.
All right. Anything you want to tell Danielle?
Just tell her I love her.
And So now we take you into the X-Files.
Uh-oh, no X-Files for me.
X-Files in your Simi Valley world.
That's no X-Files.
Do you run into any X's in Simi?
Not really.
No?
No. Pretty good at that. Staying away from the X's.
Yeah? What's your secret?
I don't have a secret. I just carry on.
Carry on?
Yeah.
K-H-A-Y.
That's what you do. You carry on in Simi Valley. Simi Valley, by the way, Rodney King trial took place there.
Mike's scavenger hunt.
And they filmed a lot of things, I guess some westerns in Simi Valley. I used to work pretty close to there in Thousand Oaks at KNJO. And I think I have something from there. No, yeah. Okay. We'll get to that. Oh, by the way, the music that was playing underneath me there as I was talking to that guy was Keith Urban. Before he went solo, he was with a band called The Ranch, and they did some amazing stuff. That was an instrumental they did. So, okay, this is from Santa Barbara, and we're going back even further in time. This is definitely over 30 years ago. Santa Barbara had a station where we played the top 40. It was called Most Music 197 KHTY, as in hit.
You hear the new music first on Most Music 197. That's brand new from U2. Even better than the real thing. The video to that song makes you dizzy. I gotta warn you, okay? We're working on a 50-minute music hour. My name's Mike Matthews with Color House and the Innocent Child on 197.
With what? I vaguely remember that song.
I was her lover, Sophie B. Hawkins. Very nice looking lady on Most Music 197. Taking a look at the weather. Sunny today with some high clouds. Well, it'll be sunny tomorrow, too. High clouds, highs in the 70s. Tonight will be cloudy with lows in the 60s. Currently in Santa Barbara, it's 73. Don't forget Adam Curry tonight at 7 o'clock for counting down those top 30 songs, making it big here in the USA. It's Adam Curry on Most Music 197.
Wow, now Adam Curry's got the No Agenda podcast, which I am addicted to, with that Dvorak guy. And they deconstruct media, and they're fascinating and interesting. And, oh, Sophie B. Hawkins, she's still doing great stuff. She had some legal issues. I don't know if it was with her record label, or there was something going on that she was in the news. But as far as I know, Sophie B. Hawkins is still making music. But yeah, I'm sure every single male DJ made that same comment that I did back when that song came out. But then she had that wonderful song, As I Lay Me Down to Sleep. That was a huge #1 for her. And then there was I think this is the Thousand Oaks
station. It was a 7-mile round-trip hike from La Jolla Canyon to Magoo Peak tomorrow. Meeting at 5 p.m. for carpooling at the Park and Ride lot on Thousand Oaks Boulevard at Wilbur Road. For more information, give us a call here at 92.7 FM. Our number is 496-8545. Robert Palmer's latest is on the way in a few minutes. Right now, it's a brand new one from Elton John, who will be at Dodger Stadium with Eric Clapton and Curtis Stigers August 29th and 30th. This is The One.
Yeah, that's KNJO.
Do you like good things the easy way? Then get instant Maxwell House coffee. So good. So good. True coffee flavor and fragrance, because instant Maxwell House is not a so-called coffee product. It's all pure Maxwell House coffee and instant.
Oh, that's right. We used to play classic radio shows on KNJO because it used to have an AM station connected with it called Comedy Radio. KMDY.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
And that was Burns and Allen from 1948. Thank you for joining us for 92.7's Comedy Radio Classics. Join us again tomorrow night and every weeknight at 10 for a trip back to the golden days of radio. This is Mike Matthews for the new 92.7 FM.
Did you know, by the way, George Burns' agent ended up being Cary Grant's agent? That, according to that series that I watched last night, that mini-series. Okay, one last bit of Let's Go Back with Matthews. We're going way back to the 80s. Yes, to 1988. And I was already working for Y97. I had started out interning, and then they eventually gave me a shift on the overnight. But I was also over at KCSB, which is UC Santa Barbara's radio station. And that is where I met a young Sean Hannity. The first radio shift he ever did was on KCSB. But I had a show called The Public Mic, because I would go out with a microphone and I would talk to people. I'd talk to the public, and I'd just find random people and then interview them. And at the end of the interview, I would ask them, what song would you like me to play? And then whatever it was, I would dig it up and play it. And KCSB had a huge library, it was all records. I think they had just a couple CDs at that point. But I would plow through all the records, all alphabetically, organized, put in the racks, and I'd pull whatever it was, whatever the record was. Now, this is not the best quality.
Right? Good.
And I sound like a complete doofus, but it was interesting. I was walking around Isla Vista, and this was also October of 1988, so this was Halloween, actually. I think I was either on Halloween or the night before. And Halloween in Isla Vista is notorious. There's been riots, there's been murders. Since I went to school there, I left in 1990, but there had been some bad things that happened on Halloween. So bad, in fact, that Isla Vista police had to just shut down Isla Vista on Halloween. I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but it was nasty. Now, when I was there, though, in 1988, things were still relatively calm, and I was talking to some people. And one of the guys I was talking to, and you'll hear in this clip, when my cousin was visiting from Germany, she met this guy, and they went on a couple of dates while she was visiting. And then she, I don't know if I think she kept in touch with him for a little while, but then they lost contact. I ran into him in 1988 and happened to have this microphone with me. So we talked. And interesting side note, that same cousin, her daughter is going to come visit us, my lovely lady friend and I, in about a month. And she's bringing her, actually a month from today, and she's bringing her boyfriend with her. So this, maybe she's going to listen to this podcast and hear this. But here is the former date of her mom, who could have been potentially her Anki, who you hear at the beginning of the podcast, say Mike's Daily Podcast. It could have been her dad, but was not. So here we are going to listen to a little bit of that. When I was doing The Public Mic, was the name of the show, on KCBS back in 1988.
Buy a bag of apples and a bag of razor blades, and that's all I would buy. And to see the look on the clerk's face was worth $1 million.
The Public Mic, of course, does not in any way condone this type of behavior. In fact, strongly advise against it. Anyway, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Miller was his name. Yeah, the joke was that he went to the grocery store and bought a bag of apples and razor blades on Halloween. What's interesting is that the only way I was able to record that was I had to get a small radio that could record. I put a cassette in it, and I had to stick it in the dorms because that was the AM station for KCSB, and the only way you could listen to it was in the dorm. So I had to find one of the lobbies and talk to the guy that would check everyone's passes on the way in. I go, can I just leave my radio here and you hit record in about 30 minutes because I'm going to start my show? And he did, and he didn't walk away with the tape, or the radio, and that's why I have that really bad copy of that from eons ago.
Cassette copy.
The old speech coach that I remember, Jesus, I know, you are very young, and you probably, are you married?
I did get married about a month ago.
Oh, really? And she's probably a very young lady.
Well,
That's a stupid question, isn't it?
how's the little woman? Yeah, and how's the wife, too, right? But anyway, she's a nice lady. Yes. Okay, back to, what is your favorite alternative song? God, I would say Dave Brubeck's Take 5. Dave Brubeck's Take 5. Okay, I'm getting a lot of weird requests tonight, so I might not be able to find that, but I'll try. I'll be listening. Okay, well, thank you, and I forgot all of your names all at once. Mr. Nameless. Tom Anderson. Tom Anderson. Ross Miller. Ross Miller. And Tony. Tony Cypher, yes. Thank you, and have a great Halloween. Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike. The most incredible thing happened just now. I thought I wouldn't be able to find Dave Brubeck's Take 5. You know, I don't know, because, you know, KCSB has a wide variety of records. They really do, but I think sometimes I don't have them. But this is score one for KCSB. Here it is. Take 5. Dave Brubeck.
Oh my God!
The bottom of the charts.
Pretty good songs that never made it on the radio because people didn't think they were worth it. But you know what? They come back up and people start playing them, and it's like, where'd that come from?
Let us play something for you on the segment, the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. Bands that sent me their email promoting their new music. I thought I would play them for you, and you can tell me what you think. The first one came from Logan Richard. This says, Hi Mike, Unrequited Love Blues is my new duet with Moira and Claire about two people who love each other but don't know that the other person feels the way that they do. We were inspired by the tragic idea of unrequited love, that it will never be anything more. Co-producer Colin Buchanan transformed the soft acoustic demo into a pop bop. The subject matter is rather bleak and sad, but this song makes me feel the opposite. I can't help but groove along as I listen. Here is Unrequited Love Blues by Moira and Claire.
If only I could show you unrequited love blues. I think of you every day.
Moira and Claire, Unrequited Love Blues. We can only play a little bit or we'll get dinged by YouTube. Dang YouTube. Song number 2 is from Jean, Jeen. Hey Mike, can you stay another minute? Sit me on the couch, talk to me until I pass out. So What is the 4th and final single off my next LP. It's an alt-pop song about never-ending uphill battles and wishing you could freeze time to stay with someone you can't get enough of. I wrote this track in 2022 after a relentless couple of years. Here is Jean, Jeen, and the song So What? All right, I can't play much more of it, but that's Jean, Jeen, and So What? And the last song is from the Jesus and Mary Chain. They share a new single, Chemical Animal. It is from the new LP Glasgow Eyes. They return with their Jam Cod, established a fresh wave of momentum ahead of the March 8th release of their new album, bringing long-term fans back into the fold and introducing their influential sound to a whole new audience. Here is a little bit of the song called Chemical Animal. Jesus and Mary Chain. He's not singing there. What's his voice sound like? All right, there's a little bit of that for you. So which song did you like best out of the 3? Did you like the Logan Richard, or Moira and Claire is actually what that is. Jean, Jeen, or Jesus and Mary Chain. You can call me at this number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640. Will you shut ups? Liberty Nation Freedom Foam for All.
And with more ways to reach me, here is A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye!